being in a dark room with a candle. And you can sort of see what's going on, but you really, really don't. We ran out because we didn't know what the other companies were selling. Farmers were going to the grain companies saying, I don't have it, I don't have it. Well, the grain companies were going to their customers saying, I don't have it. Being in a dark room with a candle. And you can sort of see what's going on, but you really, really don't. But I just wanted to add that to what Marlena said. But for me, this goes back to 1984. We in the green room, we talked about, back to when the wheat board ended. But in 1984, that kind of dates me. I realized I was a merchant with Cargill working in Vancouver. And that year, to put it in perspective, we were trading $350 dollars per ton was the typical price. That year, we had a bit of a crop problem, and we moved up to about $400 a ton. And that's kind of where we sat. And what happened, I can give you a chart, late in that crop year, the market absolutely took off. And I think that was the first time we ever hit over $700 on futures. And what happened was we oversold. We actually sold out. And Cargill being one of the bigger exporters, I remember we canceled contracts. We deferred contracts at quite a bit of reputational harm. We actually had trucks going from elevator to elevator. Remember, like right now, we've got about 300 primary elevators. Back then, there's probably 3,000. So a lot of little piles of grain all over. So we'd go and pick up 3 tons in one elevator, go to the next one, pick up 8 tons, and amalgamate it into one elevator so we could load rail cars. Really cleaning out bin bottoms. The official carryout that year, I read recently, was 400,000. Our own numbers was 170,000 tons carryout, which is nothing. And we actually, my point is, we ran out because we didn't know what the other companies were selling. And they didn't know what we had sold. And so to me, that was a dramatic idea of what could happen. Now we fast forward to 2021 when we had a crop failure. I think I got the right year. And that year, if I remember right, a lot of guys forward sold, probably more than they typically did, because the year before we had good prices. And I'm talking canola. So a lot of forward sales.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a grain trader, you don't just buy that and sit on it. So the grain companies also had a lot of forward sales on the books. Mm-hmm. And so what happened was, when we realized just how bad a crop it was, and farmers were going to the grain companies saying, I don't have it, I don't have it. Well, the grain companies were going to their customers saying, I don't have it. So the market was driven up because the grain companies were short. But we didn't realize this early on. If we had a program that we're talking about, we would have known how much was on the books, and we would have been able to respond a lot sooner and at less cost to the whole industry.
Okay, to simplify this, what program are we talking about? What are you saying?
I call it a program. What we're talking about is having better export data available to everybody.
Can you be even more specific? Like, what is it that an American farmer can wake up and see that we can't?
Well, like Ryan was saying earlier, on a weekly basis, the USDA reports sales made that week. And if it's a substantial sale, they report it that day. So they know when what sales are on the books already, old crop or new crop. If we had that in place here, if we had that in place here back in 2021, we would have known going into the summer how much was already sold. And then we would have had a much better idea of the risks of being short in that market.
Okay, let's ask the audience here. What costs you the most? Selling at the wrong time, not knowing what the buyers are actually paying, not having tools to act on the information when you get it? The dog ate my Western producer? Who put that in there? Honestly, I have no idea. Oh, somebody's dog ate the Western producer. That's a bugger. Philip, tell us in very simple terms, explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. How much is this affecting from a trader's point of view? And what do you think of Marlena's numbers too? It sounds really conservative to me.
I don't really have a comment on the numbers, but as far as the effect, it comes down to market planning. At the end of the day, with the data that you get south of the border, I can come up as a broker with a better game plan for a producer on corn and soybeans, knowing a heck of a lot more data that we tend to get here in the canola market. And as Ryan said earlier in the podcast, there's a lot of guesswork. We're constantly looking at our S&Ds, we're putting in our comments, we're projecting large supply, but we just don't know exactly the export pace. We know we started canola off on a weak footing this year because China was not around. We also know that China is back and they are active, but don't know to the extent of how active they are because we don't have these daily sales. We can't react to them as quick as we can react to the soybean market or the corn market or the corn crop.
So
Yep.
Dan, if I can just very
You
briefly
can jump in anytime.
interject.
Yeah.
Particularly in this example, we have a graph that might be interesting for people, which talks
Okay.
about the event-based results that I talked about, and it showed using US data that following very large export sales announcements, the average basis we showed to improve for 1 to 3 weeks following the publication of that figure.